Hello, checking in with the first 7 chapters of Sppr Flms by Andrews, which is a husband and wife, or a wife and husband team of writers who write under the name of Alona Andrews. Um, I, of course, have picked book number, is it number 4 or number 5 of this series to start off with. I didn't realize that when I got the book. I only realized that after I had listened to like 4 chapters and was like, there seems to be some backstory here. And so I checked and it's like, oh, I'm, it is actually what looks like one of these spin-off books of like the first 3 or 4 of the books followed a character named Nevada, and now this one is following a character named Catelyn Baylor, and it is a urban fantasy kind of, I guess, romance book is what it's marketed as. It does definitely has magic. It's definitely it's a magic world. It's like an urban fantasy world, but it's apparently marketed under romance. I think I've read a couple of Alona. I think it's Alona Andrews earlier books. Their earlier books, Magic Burns or Magic Bites, maybe 1 or 2 of them, which were very kind of fun, fun magic-y, but with like hot little bits of romancy hot stuff in there. And this seems it's going to follow that kind of idea. It is a magic world where apparently the Osiris serum was developed and released on the world, and it gave people magic abilities. And when before the government could realize that, like, oh, we need to shut this down and lock it up, it turned out that those magic abilities were something that was you inherited from like your parents as you went along. So we have families, and some of these families are extremely they're families. They're extremely powerful. Now, Caitlin Baylor is now seems to be the head of her family. She is a siren, which means, well, they call her a siren. They also call her something else, but her with her voice, basically, she can make people, basically fall in love with her. But it's one of these double-edged swords in that they will fall in love with her so much that they'll want to rip her hair out and tear her to pieces by the end. So short-term, very pliable people make people very pliable, but long-term, not good. Not good. And indeed, in this one, a shapeshifter named Augustine Montgomery showed up at their place, disguised as Caitlin herself. She has incompetent security guys guarding her compound, um, and he brings her to a hospital where a young guy, Ragnar Edison, is trying to commit suicide, and his distraught sister Runa is there, and apparently it's because their mother and sister were both horribly burned, killed in a fire in the family home. She rescues the young guy by using her power, and then has to take him back to the compound to detoxify. The shapeshifter Augustine tells her, "Don't accept this case. We wouldn't for like 20 only for like 20 million, and you don't want to do it." And what it seems to turn out to be is this is a war between families, and some very powerful people have killed uh, the 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 mother, and it turns out not killed the daughter. The daughter, they do run DNA on the things. For some reason, the medical person only did dental, which is like, that's bullshit. You need to do DNA. They ran the DNA, and it's the mother, but the other body is not the daughter. So Haley Edison is somewhere out there somewhere. Um, so they it's like, oh, she's got this financial advisor. They go there, and the guy is a prime, which I guess is what you call the people who have these powers, and he's got some kind of weird, gnarly, highly frightening, demonish powers. But there's a sniper bullet from from across the street. This is the main love interest, Alessandro, who also showed up at the hospital and stabbed the suspect medical examiner to death. And Alessandro is apparently Caitlin's teenage crush from a long time ago, of the super sexy guy who's like an is he Instagram model? He's something. He's like a movie star or something like that. He's very hot, and everyone knows that she was hot for him, and he indeed himself teases her. But so yes, she gets away from the super powerful financial advisor guy, who obviously isn't a financial advisor guy. He's like some kind of super powerful family's prime. And but of course he sends off a squad of hit people to either capture her and take her back to his place, or to just execute her. And she uses her powers again to kind of bewitch a couple of a couple of things. She splits them up, bewitches them, gets them to brutally kill their comrades, all the while telling about how they themselves have brutally killed lots of people. She actually kills by hand a couple of the soldiers. It's like she's being very brutal, and this is like, oh, I've never killed anyone before. It's like, well, you're surprisingly good at it for someone who has never done it before. We're definitely getting a lot of characterization of Caitlin is, I was a shy, didn't want to do anything, tried to hide my powers, but now I need to be a badass when the moment calls for it, which of course she does, except she's all flustered around Alessandro because he's so hot and so masterful and so also violent. Like, she's shocked when he stabs someone through the heart, but then she's cutting people's throats too. But of course, yeah. So yeah. So I did quite sure about that. Now, they also she also finds a little dog at this abandoned mall where that she's taken them to kind of isolate them and take them out. A little black matted dog, and it bares its teeth, and it licks her nose, and it's like, oh, you have to take care of me, which is like a feral dog like that would not be like, oh, I love me, take care of me. It's like, no, if it's gone, if it's taken the trouble to hide itself in this mall, it would be like, screw you, and would bite her. But we'll take it as the ploy, the very effective ploy to kind of appeal to my dog loving senses, that, oh, the little dog loves her, and she's gonna love the little dog, and it's all gonna be okay, and who cares about Alessandro? It's all about the dog now. I'm such a sucker. So yeah, it's really well told. They're really filling in the backstory quickly. Like, I know a whole, like, what this magic world is about. They drop that little chunk in there. Um, the Steve Donahue talks about how, each one of these books should be a standalone book, and it is indeed following that rule. Like, I feel like I'm pretty caught up. I know that she was a waif who now has had to kind of step up to the plate to become the head of the family. She like has to make the decision, should we take this case? It's like, it's not a smart decision, but she's like, this person helped me at some point. Apparently there was a wedding where there was poison, and her power, Runa's power, is to deal with poisons. She can poison people, but she can also draw poison out, and she detoxified all the people before they all died. So she's like, you helped us, we are loyal, we will help you, and give us $5, now you're our client, kind of that sort of thing. So and definitely being kind of noble that way. Definitely brutal violence, but you get the sense this is going to be the brutal kick-ass violence. We're going to go to war, but it's kind of in that action adventure sort of way, even though it's pretty bloody and full on. And so yes, Alessandro showed up and is butchered all the rest of the things, and he's like, you have to come with me. And it's like, no, I don't. Yo, we'll go different ways. You leave me alone. It's like they've cut all the tires of your car, and they called for backup before they got killed. So you have to come with me. So it's like, it's gonna have to go with the super hunky, mysterious, um, ninja assassin, good-looking movie star type guy. Darn it! Too bad how that happens. All right, so that is Sppr Flms, which has a very has what I assume is Caitlin on the cover in a slinky purple dress with a super hunk behind her, which I assume is Alessandro. And I, she's got a whole family of people: Grandma Frida, um, Bern, Arabella, um, all people who kind of josh at her and poke at her, but obviously are her family who she loves. And yes, we have trouble with this Abrea, who is the incompetent security chief who doesn't seem to be taking things seriously, which is like, is he incompetent or has someone gotten to him? That's another possibility. Uh, yes, the grandma. Nevada, this seems to be the main character from the other books, is off somewhere else. And it's like, do you need me to come back? It's like, nope, I'm going to be fine because this is my novel. Go away. If you come and take over, then it becomes your novel. That's no good. I'm not quite sure how Caitlin is the head at the moment and Nevada isn't, but maybe that was covered in a past thing, and that's just how things are at the moment. Nevada's out of the picture for this one, and I guess if I like this book enough, I'll go back and I'll read, listen to the other ones, and learn about this family stuff. But I've decided, what the hell? I'm now I'm now like 4 hours into a 12 hour into a 4 hours into a 12-hour audiobook. I'm just going to go with it. It's kind of interesting to read something like this, um, where it's in the middle of a series, but that I feel like I'm in good hands of a writing team that knows how to construct these silly adventure stories, very much like Edgar Rice Burroughs in The Chessmen of Mars. It's like you could just read that on its own. You wouldn't need to know really anything about John Carter other than, yep, he's a guy from the Earth who went to Mars. And I get the same sort of sense with this series. It's, blessed with a fair amount of simplicity of character and plot, uh, in all that silly funness. Okay, I will stop there.